I mean, to the outside observer, it seems that Chinese politics is pretty much a united front. That is clearly not the case. So in the upper echelons of power in China, does Xi have any serious risks to his leadership that he needs to balance here?
I think a lot of the Chinese leaders are concerned about zero COVID policy and how it's affected the economy. I hear lots of my Chinese friends tell me they themselves are very concerned, and even, well, maybe a couple, 3 months ago, the ground was trembling a little bit, indicating that maybe there's going to be a shift. But it seems lately that President Xi has consolidated his position. I do think it's correct that we should wait to see who the lineup is in the standing committee, whether they're more loyalists or more people there, as your last correspondent said. We show a little bit of indication that maybe it's more broad support in the standing committee as opposed to loyalists. I've worked with Wang Yang. I think he'd be terrific. I don't want to hurt his chances by saying he's terrific, but I do think he's a wonderful person, and I very much hope that Wang Yang is one of the members of the standing committee and has significant economic power.
Well, so far in the People's Congress, we've had a tremendous amount of words. A lot has been said, but at the same time, really nothing has been said. We haven't had any major developments to hang our hat on, particularly around COVID zero. Is Xi really praising the way that that's protected the Chinese population? But can you see that policy getting eased anytime soon?
Not soon, and maybe before the holidays, the New Year next year, the Chinese New Year, but not until then. Maybe about the time of the People's Congress next spring. Then that might be a time when COVID would be relieved, at least the quarantine will be relieved. I think it's very important for the economic development of the country for that quarantine to be lifted as soon as possible. That'd be more communication, more travel. American businessmen, they'll be able to travel, and Chinese be able to travel and back and forth. Very important. I think that the quarantine has very much hurt the relationship. It's very much hurt the economy. It's very important that China find a way to deal with COVID in a way that allows the economy to come back.
Ambassador, of course, we understand the workings of China, but also how Washington operates. Why are we getting this news now that the Biden administration is looking into expanding those export controls to include those quantum computing, not to mention AI technologies, at a time when the Communist Party Congress is going on? Is this just upping the ante at this point?
I think it's really, we have two countries, two leaders who are very proud. It's like a face-off, and it's worrisome and it's ominous. Statements by President Xi that he wants China to be a leader in the world frightens a lot of Americans. At the same time, the statements by the administration that they want to be the leader and outcompete China in virtually every area also causes China to be very worried and causes China to think that the U.S. is trying to prevent China's rise. And it's true. In many respects, America is trying to prevent China's rise. And don't forget, domestic politics are very, very strong in America today. No member of the United States Senate or the House can stand up on the floor and say something constructive about China for fear of he or she his or her head taken off. It's domestic politics is pushing this, midterms, the presidential just around the corner. The big ballast here still is the economy. China needs the U.S. We need China. There's about $600 billion in trade last year between our two countries. And I just think that if the more U.S. business can keep trying, do business, and China do business, that's going to help get a little bit of sanity in this relationship.
And of course, we saw domestic politics also at play when House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan. Given the reaction that you saw from Beijing, how would you assess how volatile this side of the world is right now?
I think it's very volatile. I was very much opposed to a visit. I thought it was a huge mistake, but it happened. And the reaction is what we predicted. China's very upset. There are some who predict that even though China wants a peaceful resolution in Taiwan, that China's starting to step up the timetable. That's very possible. It's very concerning. The U.S. Navy chief said just a few days ago that he expects possibly China to try to forcibly take Taiwan by 2024. I doubt that's going to happen. But a statement like that makes the tripwire even that much more sensitive. I think it's very important for the United States to think very carefully about its relations with Taiwan, because the more it pushes, the more China's going to react adversely. When I was serving as U.S. ambassador to China, it's one thing that was driven home to me. Taiwan is existential. It's non-negotiable for China. And I don't think enough Americans really appreciate that. This is really sensitive. And I think U.S. administration and U.S. policymakers in Congress really risk going too far. They should be very careful.